Minister, thank you very much for being with us today.
Yeah, great to be with you.
I'd like to start off by talking about broadband. Australia is currently implementing a large-scale broadband network, and it's been very proactive about promoting the benefits of high-speed networks. Why do you believe that such a large investment in broadband technology is important for Australia?
Well, connectivity is absolutely vital. The benefits of the digital age are only available if everybody is connected, and that's obviously an expensive job. To be quite frank with you, the previous government, which we were elected last September, the previous government committed us to spending much more than they needed to, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend the Australian model of the government actually building the broadband network to other countries, but the principle of ubiquitous, affordable broadband is absolutely critical for all countries. And the change of policies since I became the minister has been to continue with the broadband rollout, but to seek to do so in a more cost-effective manner so that people are connected sooner and that they are connected more affordably. The biggest barrier to internet access is not technology, it is really income. And so if we want to get the benefits of broadband, particularly around the world in countries that aren't as wealthy as Australia, we've got to use technologies that make it affordable and focus on the service outcome, the connectivity that you require, rather than becoming fixated on one particular technology platform.
Now, as we know, Australia is a large and geographically diverse continent. It could be so that it faces a lot of the same challenges in connecting its population to broadband nations as in the developing world. Can poorer countries learn from your experience, and are you actively sharing your expertise with neighbouring nations?
Well, we're certainly seeking to do that, and I know the ITU in particular has had some case studies on the Australian experience, and I'd welcome that. And I think the approach that we are taking now is very relevant to developing countries, because the approach that we're taking is what we call technology agnostic, or a multi-technology model, so that we look at a particular area, look at what legacy assets are available in terms of copper or HFC or indeed conduit and whatever's available, and then say what is the fastest in terms of time of construction, cheapest and hence most affordable way of ensuring that the people in this area get connected. And that is the critical thing, because I think a lot of countries will come under pressure particularly from vendors who will want to push the shiniest, most expensive technology on them. And there'll be a tendency to always go for what is seen as the perfect technological solution. The critical thing is the outcome. You know, we should always remain, in terms of telecom, focused on the prize. What is the prize? People being able to connect at speeds and with capacity and functionality that enables them to do all the things they need to do and want to do. But above all, it has to be affordable. There is no point having a Rolls-Royce product, a Rolls-Royce network that people can't afford.
Now, Australia has been an active campaigner for free and open internet and the importance of the multi-stakeholder process. What's your impression of the current state of the debate? And following, the Global Net Mundial conference in Brazil a couple of weeks ago, for example, that raised a number of issues there.
I thought that was a very promising outcome. I think there is not unanimity, of course, but there is very broad support of the multi-stakeholder approach. And we have to recognise that the internet, this extraordinary piece of infrastructure, the most important piece of infrastructure ever built, has been built largely without the involvement of governments. You know, the United States involvement in the naming and numbering function has been largely a reserve power. I've often described the role of the Department of Commerce as being a little like the way the House of Lords is described in the Gilbert and Sullivan opera Iolanthe, as having done nothing in particular but done it very well. And the United States should be credited for saying, well, the ICANN, the internet, the community of the internet has grown up and doesn't need our reserve power anymore. I think that's very commendable that America is doing that. But what we have to do now, of course, is to ensure that everyone is satisfied that the ongoing governance is meeting everybody's requirements. But we have to remember that this remarkable piece of infrastructure has not been built by governments. It has been built by the broader civil society, you know, technology companies and citizens, scientists, academics. It's a remarkable accomplishment.
Talking about accomplishments, ITU is celebrating its 150th anniversary in 2015. I wanted to ask you finally, what for you is the value of ITU?
The ITU is at the very heart of what it is to be human. There is nothing more human than engaging, than speaking. We are social animals, connecting. You know, think about all of the characteristics of our species. And what can be more important than the fact that we are social animals? We love to talk, to gossip, to argue. We love to be together. We flock together. And the ITU has been at the centre of ensuring that as technology has developed, we have been able to do that across wider and wider distances, across all countries, across all income groups, all demographies. And so I would say the ITU is at the heart of humanity.
Minister Malcolm Turnbull, thank you very much indeed for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure.
But you know, it has never been easier in the 24, they call it the 24-hour news cycle. It's not a 24-hour news cycle. It is a 60-second news cycle now. It's instantaneous. It has never been easier for people in public life, not just politicians, but journalists and business leaders and the pundits and so forth. It has never been easier to get away with telling lies. It has never been easier to get away with the glib one-liner. And I say to you that people, whether they are broadcasters or politicians or writers, who think that they are respecting Struggle Street, the battlers, whatever epithet they want to use, by dumbing things down into one-line sound bites, are not respecting them, they are treating them with contempt. Not only can we say that that which doesn't kill me makes me stronger, we have to say that every knock, every reverse, every failure is not a defeat, is not a setback, but is something from which we learn and which enables us to do better. And that requires ensuring, from a governmental point of view, governments which make our economy more free, which make our economy more flexible, which make it easier to start businesses, which make it easier for businesses which are unsuccessful to fail so that others can take their place. It is that element of dynamism and growth that is so fundamental to our future. You know, a lot of people think that Australia will be able to survive on its great mineral resources. Let me tell you, they're kidding themselves. How many people here believe that the world will still be burning as much coal in 50 years' time as it is today? I can tell you I don't, and God help us if we are. Of this country is its greatest strength. And you can see that here, you can see that anywhere in Australia, but it is empowering the Australian people. It's giving Australian people the freedom to develop the businesses, the ideas, the technologies, the innovations that will create the jobs, the high-paid jobs in a developed society with a generous social welfare net. That is what we need to ensure for the future. And that is our big economic challenge. And of course, to do so in a way that respects our obligation to play an important, constructive, meaningful part in ensuring that this planet, the only planet we've got, barring some space trek, is managed and inhabited in a sustainable fashion.
Why is it important for government to support open data?
Well, because the data belongs to the people, and the only justification for government not to make its data available and accessible, that means in machine-readable form, is to protect privacy and of course for reasons of national security. And it's pretty straightforward to make data available in an anonymised form if it is derived from individual records. And of course a lot of data, particularly the geospatial data that we've been talking about mostly tonight, doesn't involve issues of that kind anyway, and the realm of data that is covered by national security is pretty narrow. So we have 85% of all of the federal government data that is now open was made open since the last election, and we've got a lot more to go.
And what value does opening up the data provide to the community?
Well, you're returning something to the community that is theirs, and what that means is that people with the ingenuity and creativity of the audience here tonight at GovHack are able to then find smart ways to build applications around it that make that data accessible, usable, relevant to citizens.